Welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk, the podcast covering all things soccer in the Queen City. So get in touch, soccer fans. Email us at feedback@cincinnati-soccertalk.com. Now, here's your host, Nick Suberling.
Hey, what's happening, Cincinnati Soccer Talkers? Thank God FC Cincinnati won over the weekend, because if they hadn't, I wouldn't want to do this show tonight with everything that happened on Sunday with our college basketball teams. Thank goodness. The Orange and Blue got 3 points on the road down in Charleston. We're going to be dissecting that game, and of course, we're going to be joined by new FC Cincinnati Technical Director Luke Sassano. He's going to join us here in about 20 minutes to discuss his new role with the team and what he's got in store for FC Cincinnati moving forward. Of course, if you want to get in touch with us, you can. You can hit us up on the email, feedback@cincinnati-soccertalk.com. You can also tweet at us at Cincy Soccer Talk.
Captain.
Hey, we've got an episode captain this week. Give it up for Jesse King. Jesse, thank you so much for your support of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. If you want to wear the armband for an episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk, log on to cincinnati-soccertalk.com/support. Let's welcome in my cast of characters this week, the one and only Yosef Sagai. Yosef, how's it been, buddy?
Good. I had put out the UC loss out of my mind until you brought it up.
You're welcome.
This was a nice roller coaster weekend where I started Liverpool with the 5-0 win, and then FCC playing well enough to win, not quite as well as Liverpool, and then everything kind of started tilting down from there. But I'm excited to at least talk about a 3-point victory today.
3 points for FC Cincinnati. And I'd guess, and we could talk about it a little bit later too, Yosef, with our Growler Cup, our first weekend in the books, which you have taken on this year. So we appreciate all your efforts over the weekend. But I know you got to be excited for the Orange and Blue getting off to a good start. Yeah,
I'm also excited for probably what's going to be the briefest stint a tie for the lead in CST history, that amongst podcast and writing contributors, I'm actually doing okay in the Growler Cup.
Don't jinx it, buddy. Don't jinx it. No, it's good to have you back. Looking forward to getting your thoughts on the weekend. Of course, we've also got the do we want to say the good-looking twin? He's wearing glasses tonight, which is the first. I haven't seen him do that before, so he actually threw me off. But it's Brad Weigel joining us tonight. Brad, how's it going, buddy?
Well, it's been 2 months since I've been on a show, so I had to fool you somehow to let me back on the actual live show.
Oh, you cracked me up, buddy.
Nah, man. No. You know, I'm finally recovered from the pneumonia, so I'm excited to be back at it. But first of all, I want to give a thank you to all the people who came out to our live show at Bucketheads last Wednesday. It was a great time. Thank you to all the people I got to meet, Debbie, Brandon, and his family, Tim. I know Eric Turner and his boy was out there. And the coolest part, I think, one of the coolest parts of the whole night was getting to see the new Mick Lasso jersey. So Weeda Bridge has been retired, and Ethan's rocking the Mick Lasso. So I just thank you to everybody who come out, and keep tuned to CST. We should be announcing our next live show soon. Hopefully, maybe by the end of this week, we'll be able to do our announce our live show, and it's going to be on the, I believe, central or east side of town. We're going to try to bebop our way all over Cincinnati and reach as many of you as possible.
Thank you for giving me the week off.
Hey, dude, somebody's got to do it.
And of course, last but not least, we welcome back Boston Brazil, fresh off his trip down to Charleston. He made a little jaunt to some other cities as well. Boston, how you been, bud?
Doing well. Yeah, got a fun weekend. One of the best things about that Charleston trip is win, lose, or draw. It's a pretty city, and there are all kinds of great cities you travel through on the way. Asheville, Greenville, Knoxville, all the villes, really. But some fun stuff, and pretty soon there's going to be soccer teams in most of those cities in the USL D3, so you might be able to make a whole soccer tournament out of it in the future. But as always, the Charleston fans were amazing through their usual seafood, or down a low country boil, is that what they call it? But it's it was great, and we had a great time down there. And there was a good number of FC Cincinnati fans. I counted maybe 50 plus.
Yeah, we could hear you loud and proud on the YouTube feed. Could definitely pick out Matt Adamczyk with that massive flag. He couldn't miss that thing.
The dude's a legend.
Yes, he
Oh,
is.
yeah.
But no, I'm looking forward to getting some stories from your trip down to Charleston. Did I hear that you stopped? Did you stop in Nashville at all?
No, not Nashville.
Okay.
Asheville.
Okay. I was to say, I don't think we want to even touch that city after what happened on Sunday. So remember that for the summer when everybody's going down there. Take some streamers, take everything and just throw it in that. Anyway, let's move on. FC Cincinnati gets the win 1-0 over the Charleston Battery. If you had Blake Smith in your first goal of the season pool, raise your hand. We know you're lying. Blake Smith pouncing on a ball in the 18 off of Emery Walshman 1v1 with the keeper. Keeper did a good job of making the initial save, but Blake Smith picking up the garbage and putting it into the back of the net. FC Cincinnati get on the board about 19 minutes into the first half. And then really, I don't want to necessarily say hung on for dear life, but they kind of bunkered down a little bit. And without the crucial saves from Evan Newton in goal, one in particular, that volley from Higashi there in the first half, point-blank range, that Johnny quick like cat-like reflexes from Evan Newton. What a save that was. He got off to a flying start, his first clean sheet of the year. And it's 3 points for FC Cincinnati, something they have never done in round one of the USL before. They've fallen the last 2 years down to Charleston. They finally knock off Charleston for the first time and get a win in Charleston. I know it wasn't pretty. I'm going to start with you, Yosef. I know it wasn't pretty, but what were your impressions of the match?
It's kind of a tale of two halves. I mean, maybe not divided right down the middle, but they played really well for, I'd say, the first 30 or so. And I guess what I would say is that it's important to notice, hey, Welshman played well. Without Heineman, there's going to be kind of a toss-up between the three strikers. I like the way that they went about their substitutes, kind of hunkering down on the road, trying to hold on to 3 points. Not the best, play forward attitude, but when you're exploring getting 3 points against Charleston for the first time, I definitely understand why you'd bring on more defensive-minded players or like a Danny Koenig who's going to be able to press alone at the top of the pitch. But Blake Smith had his head up. He was in the right place at the right time. And I'm impressed that, hey, we got those 3 points, because prior to this, no matter what you can see from this team on paper, I think it's impressive that, given the history with Charleston, that they walked away with 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, look, to me, and we kind of debated it over the weekend, that it was the first week, and a lot of these guys didn't get into camp until a little bit later on. A guy like Richie Ryan didn't even arrive to the team until after their preseason trip to Florida. So there are some learning curves amongst these guys, but for being week one, I think at this point, getting off to a good start, getting 3 points, and trying to build some momentum is a good thing. Now, I know there are a lot of folks out there who are probably up in arms about the tactical side of things, but I'm gonna come to you now, Brad, because you've had a chance to watch it a few times now.
Well, I'm going to start with something that I liked, and I think it's really clear to see that Alan and Jeff have really improved the talent of the squad. I mean, it starts off the bat in the first 10 seconds. Look at Lance Lang, and he almost put us ahead right off the bat if it wasn't for that crossbar. And then Ledesma, his little flashes of skill, his pass. I think there was a give and go in the 5th minute between him and Hoyt, and then Hoyt backheels it in front of, gets it to Bone, and then Welshman in front of goal. So I think there's a lot of individual talent, and that alone is going to carry us this year. And as these guys come and gel together, I think we're going to see more and more, and I think that's going to get us over the line in a match like yesterday. But one of the things that I really need to start to see is the ability of this team to start to be able to control possession. They've talked about it the whole offseason. They brought in these players specifically to do so. And we saw some issues in the first half on Nashville and then the Sacramento preseason games. Then we had a great first 35, 40 minutes versus Charleston. Then we kind of kind of ease off the gas pedal and like you said, hung on for dear life. So I really want to see these guys over the next couple of weeks grow, get more familiar with each other, and see if that's something they can fix themselves, or maybe if there has to be a tactical adjustment.
And you bring up a good point too, Brad, about if it wasn't for a crossbar and if it wasn't for an amazing save by Charleston's keeper on the Ledesma free kick, we're looking possibly at 3 goals here. So everybody's going to see the 1-0 and all of the defensive posture, all the passing and interceptions in their own 18-yard box. But, you know, they weren't that far away from it being 3-0 or 3. Well, honestly, if you look at the saves Newton made, maybe even 3-3.
Yeah, I mean, there was even another one early in the game when Lang got freed up on the left side and Ledesma cuts into the middle. He's standing there at the top of the box, wide open. Nobody's going to get to him, and Lang it was. And again, I think he's a little a lot of these guys are still unfamiliar with each other, with maybe what they're supposed to be doing, so they're relying on their own talent. And so, versus I think maybe halfway through the year, he picks his head up, sees Ledesma, and he puts it in for a goal. So these are all things to look out for. I think that they're fixable. We just need to see that progression.
And that may have been a heat check coming from Lance Lang after that opening shot being so close. You know what I mean? Maybe if he hadn't hit the crossbar that first shot, maybe he's laying that one off to Ledesma. So, Boston, you were there. You saw it firsthand. You had a different view than the rest of us. What did you make of the match?
Well, even on the way down, I watched St. Louis play the night before. I watched Louisville, Nashville at 3:00, and everyone had a stale, boring first half. All those games were 0-0. Once I got to South Carolina, I was telling some fans there, I'm expecting a slow start. It seems to be the trend here for these week 1 USL games. These teams are coming out looking a bit flat, taking a little bit to get and go. Was shocked when we came out and it played so well in the first, like you guys said, 30 minutes. Almost scored immediately. Really good movement, really through those first, that first part of that first half, taking the goal. And Blake Smith did a great job of in these early games, and not just this one. There's going to be a few more of these games like this. The defenders need to be ready, to run up there, make these type of plays. Goalkeepers are not, in tune with their back lines all the way for most of these teams. And you're going to see some of these balls knocked around, and these garbage goals are great to grab early in the season.
And I was going to say, in this formation that they're playing with this 4-2-3-1, getting these wing backs up there, like you said, they got to be ready to pounce on these balls. Hoyt, the central defense or central midfielders, they all got to be there. So credit to Blake on that.
Yeah, Blake did a great job. And then we go into the half, and I said, all right, we're already up a goal. The second half is where we're going to come out. If any of these other matches were an indication, this is what's going to happen. And that did not happen. We went into a defensive shell. We seemed to struggle with possession. I'm not sure how much of it was intentional, how much of it was Koch saying, lay off the gas, just protect the lead, or if it was just the natural flow of things where we did lay off the gas. But I will say my positives are starting Emery Welshman. That was something I loved seeing right off the bat. You could tell he had that pace. It was definitely a different feel than Sacramento. Loved that selection. Still confused as to why Naz isn't in the starting 11, but I think we'll hit on that a little bit later.
So Boston kind of fills us in there about some of the positives and the negatives, and Brad did as well. Joseph, what stood out to you and what concerned you?
I thought what stood out to me in the positive sense is along the lines of what Brad said, that we have a lot of players currently relying on individual skill to facilitate and perform on the pitch. And I think with time, hopefully, the idea is that in conjunction with actually playing together, knowing each other a bit better. Heck, we have Kenny Walker and Richie Ryan who have barely played with each other at all. I'm hoping that they grow together as a team. And that skill, we're kind of the opposite of Louisville right now. Like we have Louisville plays really well as a team, but they don't have a lot of talent on paper. And I don't say that as a knock. I say that as actually a sort of compliment to them. But if you can get both sides of the ball rolling on that, I think we'll be okay. That said, I've always maintained that when we started this season, I thought the two CDMs, Richie Ryan, Kenny Walker, and Corbin Bone, when he's playing there, if he does play there, were going to be our kind of the anchors of the team. And I didn't see that cohesion like I had hoped. And I thought that was kind of the centerpiece of why we struggled a bit with possession through the game. So give it time. I'm giving them time because they haven't played a whole lot together, but I think they need to find their roles amongst how they're going to facilitate moving the ball forward, because that's the part of the spine of the team that we really need to be performing.
Because if they don't get this fixed quickly, they're going to get found out versus Indy and especially Louisville in the home opener in just 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, but we have a little bit extra time, right? We've got a week off, and we're playing 2 matches in that week, and really the whole squad's going to get playing time, extra playing time we weren't counting on between Dayton and Columbus. So, there's a little bit extra gelling time.
Yeah, one of my positives, Joseph kind of mentioned it as one of his negatives, but for me, I thought the fact that he had 2 brand new center backs who haven't played together, a new goalkeeper, a new number 6, and really a new number 9. Inside that spine, up the middle of the field, there was a lot of new faces there that haven't played together a whole lot. The fact that they kept a clean sheet, for me, that's important. That's something you can build on defensively. Because it's not. I feel like we didn't have very many clean sheets a year ago. It seemed pretty rare, actually. Whether it be cheap goals off of set pieces, or in the case of playing against Charleston, long throw-ins, always found a way into the back of the net somehow. But, as I watched the game, at no point, now granted, I will admit I was watching this game at 4:00 in the morning, so I might not have been 100% there wake-wise, but to me, I wasn't like, I was never nervous. Like, I never was freaking out about the result. Like, I felt like they had it under control. Yes, they had 3 really great shots, 3 really great saves by Evan Newton. But I wasn't, even in the second half, maybe a little doubt crept into my head when I saw 7 minutes of stoppage time. Don't know where that came from, but I wasn't nervous. I wasn't, freaking out about how things were going. With that said, I really thought, I think the thing that disappointed me the most was the lack of, I don't know if activity is the right word, but the lack of touches that Emmanuel Ledesma got. I feel like he went unnoticed for large portions of this match against Charleston, and whether that is due to game plan by Charleston, or if it's maybe Ledesma's not really in a position where we can utilize his skill set, that's where I'm kind of uneasy right now, because he clearly, you can see from the free kick that the skill set he's got is tremendous. This guy's going to score a lot of goals for FC Cincinnati, but if he's forced to play out wide in a midfield 3 like that, maybe we won't be seeing him as much in a goal. His service into the box will be more important.
Well, I think you saw Blake Smith get up the left side a lot, and that helped bring in Lance Lang up the pitch versus Hoyt kind of stayed back. There were some moments where he got up, but he was more he just didn't get up the wing, and then so you don't have him bring the ball up. You don't have that attack going up the flank or overlapping. And like I was talking about the positional awareness, where I've kind of felt at times our midfield they were kind of running into each other. There wasn't space, and when there's no space, you can't really pass it to each other and move the ball and get Ledesma into open space where he needs to go to make people miss and make things happen. So I think that is something, like I said, needs to be addressed, needs to be corrected. They need to be able to figure out where they need to go. They need to set their triangles. They need to set their diamonds, get those passing lanes, kind of like we saw more in the first 20, 30 minutes. If they can do that over 90 minutes, that's what it's going to take to be at the top of the conference this year.
Well, in the end, FC Cincinnati gets the win 1-0 over Charleston, the first time ever beating the Battery, first time getting a win on the road against Charleston. So good news. They get off to a flying start. Now they got a week off, and then they'll get ready for Indy 11 coming up here in just a few weeks. Well, it was announced last week that FC Cincinnati would be hiring a new technical director, and we are really excited to have him join us now here on the King's Hammer Hotline. He is Luke Sassano, technical director for FC Cincinnati. Luke, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. How are you? It would help if
Guys, thanks for having me on.
I was going to say, it would help if I didn't have you on mute, Luke. I apologize. A more polished host like myself would have been able to bring you on a little bit better than that. I got to say, you joined the club, and FC Cincinnati does something they've never done before. Are you the good luck charm now that they went down to Charleston and got a win?
You know what? I wish I could take credit for that, but I'm one of those that is going to give all credit to the players, and Alan and Jeff are already getting this thing going. So I'm just really happy to join, and who knows? Hopefully, I'll continue to get some good luck going forward.
Well, I think you're the good luck charm, Luke. I'm gonna lay that on you from the get go. So, congrats on the new gig. Let's talk about how did it all go down? Like, what was the process like? Who approached who, and what made you want to come to Cincinnati?
Yeah, I think I mentioned in the press conference, from afar, I was always very envious of, I think, what has been built, with Cincinnati. Now I can say our club. The fan engagement, the community engagement, the product on the field, how the city has really embraced the team. It's such a unique time in professional soccer in this country, let alone soccer in general. So, to be a part of it, I'm very excited. When I spoke to Jeff over the past couple months and weeks, and got to know Alan a little bit better and the staff, it was very clear to me the unique opportunity I would have if I had been fortunate enough to join the club. So when things kind of lined up and our visions kind of lined up and we got to know each other better, I was really excited, first and foremost, to have the opportunity, and looking forward, obviously, to this season to build off the last season, not just in the USL, but obviously with that tremendous Open Cup run as well.
Well, Luke, this is Brad Weigel here, and I want to be, if not the first, hopefully one of the first to get to do this, but I want to welcome you to the family. And I really do mean that this is a family. It's not just Cincinnati Soccer Talk. It's the city as a whole. It's the supporters groups. It's all the supporters who come to all of our matches. I think that you're going to find really quickly how special this club is to us, and how we really want to take this to the next level and carry this on with our kids. So I really want to welcome you to the family, and as well as I know we want to learn a lot about you. We had a brief period during the press conference. A lot of us know that you spent some time with the Cosmos, and as well as you played a couple seasons in MLS with the Red Bulls and Sporting KC. But tell us a little bit about your soccer history and how you came to fall in love with the beautiful game.
Well, first off, thanks for welcoming me to the family. I've come from a great family in the Cosmos, and that's how we ran things over there. We were fortunate to have a great culture established, obviously with Giovanni, being first and foremost the leader of that group. But for myself, I grew up in California. I really fell in love with the game during the '94 World Cup, which I'm sure many people in this country, but also in my generation, did as well. For me, my favorite player growing up was Roberto Baggio. So he had definitely a tremendous run with Italy in that World Cup.
Not the best ending, though, Luke.
Years, what's that?
That wasn't the best ending, though, for Roberto.
No, but he did a great lead-up. I know. That's what happens with the PKs. Sometimes the goalie saves it, and sometimes you just kick him over the bar. So, going throughout my life, I went to college at UC Berkeley. So I played there for 4 years and was fortunate to continue my career, play with the Red Bull. And really I fell back in love with the game again when I became a professional. And I wouldn't say I ever fell out of love with it, but I think going through soccer, it's almost like a relationship, It's especially someone like myself. I've been very fortunate to have parents that supported me since I was younger. Gave me the opportunity to, drive me to tournaments, let me go stay over a friend's house to watch soccer games. So I was very fortunate from a young age, but, when I had my first surgery, which is an ankle reconstruction with the New York Red Bull, it was about 8 to 9 month recovery period. And so it was one of those things that as a player, but also as a person really tests you and, what you care about, not only in life, but how you want to pursue things and go about things. So that really helped me get back into the game from a mental standpoint and really realize that, there's more to life than just playing the game on the field. And I knew at that moment I kind of had to think about my future, not just being a player, but more how I wanted to approach the game in my career after playing. And then obviously I played with Sporting after Red Bull, had a great experience down there with Peter Vermees and his staff. And then I had a couple more knee surgeries. And at that point, at about 28, I decided that my path was going to be a little bit different for soccer. So luckily I was fortunate to know a couple of people, specifically Eric Stover at the Cosmos, who welcomed me up there. And I joined the group, and it's been a quick 5 years, but we've been fortunate to have some great players come through, achieve some success on the field. And obviously now soccer's funny how it works, and I get to join up with Ledesma again. So I'm pretty excited about that as well.
Last year we put out an article about, moves we wanted to see FC Cincinnati make, things, staff we could bring in that would take us to the next level. And a technical director was I think maybe the highest thing on our list. So we're excited about that. We wanted to ask you a little bit about your role, though. You're tasked with overseeing scouting, negotiations, and player acquisitions. Can you give us a little bit more about that role and how it kind of works with the existing roles we have in the club?
No, that's a great point. I think Jeff made a really solid mention that's going to be a three-legged stool, kind of how we're building things out. It definitely is a process. I'm constantly learning the processes internally with the club, but also, Jeff and Alan and their staffs did a great job putting the club with the first team in a position to take that jump to the next level. So I think there's a good amount of talent on the roster. Obviously, from this past weekend's game, you can see that, 8 new players on the field, but they were already starting to gel in a sense. And I think the biggest takeaway, at least for me, and I'm sure you guys were already talking about this earlier, was the mental toughness of the group. And really to pull out a 1-0 result on the road in a tough place to play like Charleston, that's kind of the biggest takeaway for me is obviously things are going to get better on the technical and tactical aspects, but building that identity and that culture of winning from the beginning is a real testament to the guys and also to Alan and his staff for putting them in the position. But to go back to my position as technical director, it's an over-encompassing role. So it'll be involved in the scouting aspect, in terms of identifying players both domestically and abroad, working within our salary budgets to prepare the club for short-term and long-term success. So that means that we want to be winning on the field now, but we also want to be winning on the field in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So I think that's an important step that the club is taking, spearheaded obviously by Carl and the ownership group and Jeff, but to allow this club to show the fan base who has shown the commitment to this club that we're prepared to take it to the next level. And obviously following that is the youth development aspect, which I know there's been a lot of questions and a lot of excitement of, what's going to come up next, what can we kind of see throughout the year, which I'm happy to touch upon. We're in an aspect right now of information gathering. We do have a couple of different initiatives and plans that will be involved with the youth development, as Jeff mentioned in the press conference, at some point during the end of the year. There's obviously, some bigger decisions, as I'm sure you guys know, that are looming on the horizon. And with those big decisions, obviously come variable aspects that things will need to evolve in terms of the youth development. And that's how do you build an academy that's going to be prepared to produce players for the first team, right? That's kind of the golden ticket, the one that every club kind of aspires to in a sense is to grab a player from the age of 12 years old, go through that process of player development with the club, and be not just only a player on the first team, but an impact player on the first team. And if you can create that pathway and that identity for your club, you're going to create a sustainability also for your club. So now, not only are you developing young players and moving them on in their career, but you're also able to attract top international and domestic talent to increase the profile of the club. So I kind of threw a lot of things out there, but I want to make sure I kind of touched on each one of them and go from there.
No, those are all great points. And you kind of hit upon our 4 questions we had coming up. So we're gonna kind of revisit a couple things here. But you talked about an academy structure, and like you said, homegrown talent is key. And right now in Cincinnati, we don't, everything's kind of private. It's not like MLS right now where they have a lot of, where they have their own structure and all the talents kind of funnel through that MLS program. So I know it might be a little tough question, but do you kind of have an idea of what you can do to incorporate some of the local clubs like Cup, King's Hammer, to, how to kind of merge or partner with them to help get that pipeline started quickly? Because I think that's one of the hardest parts, like you said, with the homegrown players is, they count a lot less towards your cap. So we want to get that up and going. So do you have kind of a way you can goal of getting that quickly if we do end up getting to MLS hopefully soon?
No, definitely. It's a great question. It's a very fair question. I think first and foremost, I'll say it's a process. And what I mean by that is, one of the pillars of FC Cincinnati is community engagement. And that extends to off the field, but I think more importantly now it extends to on the field. And how can we get the community in Cincinnati to embrace the academy, right, and the player development model? And first and foremost, that comes from listening to the youth clubs, listening to the youth leagues, finding what fits this market, which we have some internal ideas, which we'll probably be able to share at a later date. But what I will tell you is that it's important to not only find and give the opportunity for the kid that can afford and the family that can afford for that child to play, but for those kids that are in lower socioeconomic backgrounds that maybe aren't being seen right now. And I think it's important to start those type of grassroots initiatives. And I think to point onto that, some of the clubs, as you've mentioned, King's Hammer, Cup, and some of the other local youth clubs already have a fantastic coaching staff and approach to player development. But how can we come in as the professional team with the resources, but also with that final cap on that player development model, and give these clubs the opportunities to be a part of that process, because that's very important. And when that player makes it from one of those youth clubs, it's always to remember the crest. And one of our philosophies at the Cosmos, but I think just in general, is to remember where you came from. And I think it's important for that professional club to remember where that player developed, because at the end of the day, if you can give that recognition to those clubs, but also to those coaches that have helped develop the player, you're going to continue to not only produce more players for the first team, but you're going to be able to produce a bigger talent pool at the base. And I think that is the long-term sustainable model. It's to not just poach and pick the best players, but how can we work together as a city in Cincinnati to develop the overall player development model in a unique approach that's going to put us, on the map with one of the other professional clubs in this country that do things the right way, and make it a Cincinnati outlook. And I think that's, I'm talking a lot because I'm very passionate. I'm very passionate not about soccer only, but I'm passionate about player development, and I'm passionate about giving opportunities for players. So that's kind of in a nutshell where the most I can talk about right now. I hope that helped answer the question. But if you have any follow-ups, I'm happy to go in further detail.
No, Luke, and this is Joseph here. I think you did a great overview for us. And earlier in our conversation, you said in your role, you need to be focused on both long-term and short-term priorities. So when you took the role with FCC, what went to the top of your list in both the short-term and the long-term for this club?
No, definitely. Great point. I think the long-term obviously comes with that bigger decision that is looming. I would say with the short-term, it's, getting to know players, getting to know the staff, getting to know the culture that's already been established with the group. I think it's important that although, I'll be coming in the role as technical director, it's a very inclusive process in decision-making. So between Jeff, Alan, myself, but also the coaching and technical staffs to make decisions on the short term and where the club is at right now is very important to have those different outlooks. And I think, again, I've already stressed about Alan and Jeff, but they've done a really great job putting the players in a position to take that next step. And I think in the short term, it's to get to know the players, get to know, their strengths and weaknesses, looking to identify for the club, are there any positions of needs for the immediate future? And then also a big piece of that is understanding where we're at as a club in terms of investment strategy, youth development. For instance, I'm already having meetings on youth development from the past week all the way moving forward. But at the same time, I'm still looking at players that agents are already sending. So there's many different things that go into that. And I think long-term is identifying how we're going to look as a team 2 to 3, 4 years down the road. The MLS question that is there will help solidify answers to that question and solidify the roster build. But I think the most important thing right now is for me to immerse myself in the club, not be naive that I have the answers to the unasked questions yet, but to really get to know more on an intimate level FC Cincinnati, its players, its fans, because I'm excited to be here. Me and my wife, Kayla, are very excited to be in Cincinnati. We're excited to get some good chili recommendation spots. So if you have any, please pass them along. But I'm excited that we're going to be doing this together. And I've already noticed since day one that not just the club, but the city itself and the people here are really passionate about this team succeeding on the field, but more importantly in the community as well.
You kind of mentioned it. We're hanging out with Luke Sassano on the Kings Hammer hotline. He's a new technical director for FC Cincinnati. And you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier when you were discussing the three-legged chair between you and Jeff and Coach Koch. I want to know a little bit more about the relationship between a head coach and a technical director. What types of things are discussed? How much input do you have on tactical side of things? How much input does Alan have on maybe a roster acquisition? What's that relationship what is it going to be like between the two of you moving forward?
No, that's a great question. It's a very intimate relationship. It's almost being sometimes in a second marriage, I would say, because at 10 p.m. Alan's calling me. At 7 a.m. I'm calling Alan. But that's the relationship you have to have, because you have to have the off-the-field philosophy of the club as well as the on-the-field philosophy match up in unison. And I think that's an important piece, is to have that relationship, but most importantly, respect. We're both going to have our times where we're going to disagree with each other, but at the end of the day, we're going to have an open conversation. And I think between me and Alan's personalities is we listen to everything and everything. We have our own feelings, but it's important to maintain that mutual level of respect. Now, I'm being a former player, I obviously have some ideas about tactics, but Alan is obviously the head coach. He's done a great job. And you could already see that being established throughout preseason, but the first game on the weekend. So I'm really excited for us to work together. That's going to be the key, is how can we put the team in that position on the field, but also managing the roster, because at the end of the day, the coach is going to choose the players who's going to play on the field. So you want to be able to have that synergy in player decisions. And I think that's an important, very, very important facet of it, is that to have that complete brain trust. So have it with, Jeff, Alan, and myself, of understanding what type of player we want, the FC Cincinnati player, what type of philosophy we want to have as a club. And then the things that branch off of that are playing style, tactics, player profiles, and all those other things that fall off of it. So I think the main thing I would stress is it's a very important relationship, and I'm glad that I'll be working with Alan, because he's not only a very good coach, but he's a very good person as well. And you can count on him, and I trust him, and I hope he knows that he has my trust, and vice versa. So I'm really excited about our professional, but also the personal relationship moving forward.
Now, Luke, I think we just had a great win this Saturday. We've brought in a lot of talent. We got a lot of good things going forward. But I know you've seen in just your short time here in Cincinnati, we've got a little curse with our clubs around here, whether that be NFL, baseball, basketball. How confident are you, and how much can you assure our fans that you, Alan, and Jeff are going to be able to break this curse and get Cincinnati over the line and get us a team we're going to be proud of and hopefully celebrating titles with?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I'm here, and what I mean by that is professional sports is about winning, and I'm a very competitive person by nature, whether it's in 5v2 trying to nutmeg some guys, or whether it's playing, a staff game. So I think the fans can be assured that we're setting in place the processes for the team to be successful, and it is a process. The old saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day, but having said that, our responsibilities are the results on the field. And I know the pillars have been set in place, not only off the field with the incredible fan support, but also on the field with the players that are already currently on the roster. So it's up to us in the professional level of the game to find those solutions to those questions that is going to put us in the best spot to compete, not only for week in, week out wins, but also championships in the short and long term. So that's obviously the end result objective. There's a lot of hard work that goes in between that, but I think the fans can, in the Bailey, can be very rest assured that this is 24/7 job. And for me personally, I don't take losing very well, and I'm just very excited to get in with this group and contribute as much as I can to our winning product.
Hey, real quick, it's always nice to come to a club and see a familiar face, and you've worked with Ledesma in the past. Are you excited to be back with him again?
Yeah, I'm very excited. Manu, I was very happy for him that he landed here in Cincinnati. He's not only a personality on the field, but he's a tremendous high-character guy off the field. So I'm excited to see his free kicks, but I'm excited for the energy and what he's going to bring to the club. And I think the rest of the guys that are already here with him complement him well. But more importantly, there's a great culture already established in the locker room. And I think Manu is a guy that fits into that culture, and it's one that is really setting in the process in the motion for hopefully continued results like this past weekend on the field.
Well, we'll get you out on this because we know you're a busy man, Luke. We appreciate you being with us here tonight on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We usually wrap every interview, and I'm sure you were prepped for this. Have you had Skyline Chili yet in the 4 minutes that you've been in town?
I have not had Skyline Chili yet, but I'd be happy to go anytime this week. So if there's anybody that wants to join me for lunch, I'm happy to have a local Cincinnatian walking me through the process for the chili. So you guys let me know.
I think we have a few guys here on this show tonight that might be able to make that happen.
I think you're going to get about 500 Twitter notifications here come tomorrow morning.
The good thing is I do enjoy chili, and there's 3 meals in a day. So if there's 500, I think I'll be okay for the rest of the year.
I like your thinking.
Yeah, I do like it. He's not a player. He doesn't have to, watch that physique. So we can do more than one visit.
Well, Luke, we appreciate you being with us here tonight on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Best of luck in the new role, and we're looking forward to hopefully having you back on again here real soon.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it, and anytime I'm happy to be on. Thanks.
Thank you. That's Luke Sassano, the new technical director for FC Cincinnati, joining us here on the King's Hammer Hotline. We appreciate him spending a few minutes of his busy schedule being with us here on CST. Just catching up here on a few things. Of course, we have to give a big shout out and thanks to our tremendous supporters. First and foremost, Tim Brontel with King's Hammer, Matt Adamczyk, Mama Subs, Brian Malone, Jamie Smed, Mike Hudson, Jonas Tom, Jack Emery, Mike Bowman, Jesse Gill, Kathleen Francis, Jesse King, and Teresa Everidge. Thank you so much for supporting Cincinnati Soccer Talk. To learn more about supporting our show, This is a listener-supported show. Go to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. And that is where you can get involved with our Growler Cup, which, by the way, we have some results to give you over the weekend. Yosef, fill us in.
Ooh, it was an exciting turnout. Thank you for everybody who submitted predictions. I'm proud to announce that the 2 leaders, staff included, are Matt Imholt and returning participant Brian Malone with 4 points. Both had a 2-0 victory, so they got the 3 points for 3 points for the obviously picking the win, and then 0 for and then 1 for the 0 prediction for Charleston on their goal total. A lot of people went on wins, a lot of goals being scored, so it was pretty much an unexpected turnout as far as the actual result. Just a heads up, and I'll keep everybody in the loop on during the weekend. As long as you get your predictions into me some sort of way, that'll be fine. But we're going to be rolling out a Google Sheet to make things a little bit easier for you in the near future, so you can have the same spot to submit your predictions each week. But thank you to everybody who participated, and keep an eye out on the website because we'll be posting updates with specifics on where you rank against your peers. So,
and it's not too late, even though you only missed a week. It's not too late to get involved with the Growler Cup this year. We're going to be doing some fun things with it. Some trivia games, being involved here with the show. So go support the show. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support is where you can do that. We also had an NCAA tournament pool that we kind of threw together last minute, but we have to give a big shout out and thanks to the Cincinnati Dutch Lions FC organization for giving us a prize to give away. Boston, fill us in, buddy.
Yeah, the Dutch Lions stepping up big, giving us a 2018 kit and season tickets for their 2018 season. Awesome of those guys. In fact, we didn't even ask; they reached out to us. That's how great of partners they are. But they came out and we set up that pool. We had 131 people enter. After one day, I was 130, but thank goodness people have tanked out, and I've risen up the ranks. Although I think with some of the results the last couple of days, a lot of us have busted back brackets. We have 2 people tied for first. Do you have their names, Subs?
Let's see here. I've got, as you put me on the spot, R-Star Jr., I think was the one. So congrats to him after a chaotic weekend in NCAA. It was one of the most chaotic weekends we've ever seen in tournament history. And then it was Zach 19959, I believe, was the second guy in second place. So congrats to those guys, and thank you to everybody who entered. And again, thanks to the Cincinnati Dutch Lions for providing us with the prize for this year's tournament. So thank you for that. All right,
the Cincinnati basketball talk segment.
Yeah, I know. We had an interesting talk about chaos. We've had an interesting week in regards to Major League Soccer, in regards to FC Cincinnati, and where the hell this stadium is going to be built. And I half jokingly tweeted about it and posted on Facebook about how, with the curse of this city is going under, at this point, just build it in Newport. I don't want to touch Cincinnati with everything that's going on. But I guess we're 2/3 of the way there now. After the announcement over the weekend that FC Cincinnati and the West End couldn't come to an agreement. Some other details have emerged since then, but we can rule out West End. It will not be in the West End, and FC Cincinnati now focusing primarily on Oakley and Newport for the Major League Soccer stadium site. Still waiting to hear if we're going to be a Major League Soccer team. At this point, I think it's a when, not if. But let's talk about what the heck went down, Brad, because a lot of us thought that this was such a great deal for the West End, and yet it just couldn't come to fruition.
It's kind of hard to talk about this right now because I'm coming off that high of talking to Luke Sassano. I think this guy's going to be a rock star.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm not going to get into how I feel about it exactly because there's a lot of people involved. There's a lot of emotion involved. It's a very complex situation, but, you know, in the end, FC Cincinnati really wanted to try to make that site work. The rumor was out there that they wanted to do the community benefits agreement with the city, with the community. They were going to spend $10 million for a new Stargell stadium and make that top of the line. They were going to fund, I want to say it was like 29 soccer programs around the city of Cincinnati that didn't have it currently at their schools. They were going to invest a lot in the children through internship programs. They were going to give the kids at Taft High School free tickets, and they were going to spend a lot of money. But in the end, I think there was a talk. Jeff Birding said today, the West End, not the community council, but a West End group that was really kind of tasked with setting the community benefits agreement. They wanted, I want to say, $50 million in addition to the $10 million from Stargell. I want to say it was something reported like $30 million up front and then $2 million a year over 10 years, plus all the taxes that they would have to pay to the city or to the public schools, which again was another $2 million a year. And so it just got to a point where, this is a business still, and it just didn't make sense financially. Carl Linner's a smart guy, but he's not dumb. He's not gonna walk into a situation where it's not economically viable to run this team. In the end, no matter how much money you have, you still have a number that you're willing to pay, and he's willing to put out $400 million to that stadium, which you're talking about, not quite, but nearly half of all of his wealth, and not all that's liquid. So there's a lot to it. It's kind of sad because it's just such a home run site. It was just an opportunity to, like I said before, leave something to our kids, make something special. That could be the next Wrigleyville. It could be, the next Fenway Park. You see all the great stadiums around England and Germany, how they fit into the communities and they become, personally identifiable with that community. And it's just sad to see. So we got two options still. And like you said, I believe it's a win, not if. We'll see how badly Carl wants this stadium in Ohio or not.
I know you got to be a little disappointed, Boston. I'm stunned that it didn't get done. I'm surprised that CPS decided to leave all that money on the table. But FC Cincinnati's got to do what's best for them. We've got two really good sites in Newport and Oakley. Were you surprised?
A little. I mean, I went to some of the West End meetings. I knew it was going to be an uphill battle. So I didn't think the school board would be where it was going to fail. I actually thought if it failed, it would be more in the community agreements stage. So that part surprised me. However, it's done. It's over with. I think it's time for FC Cincinnati fans to move on. Most have, and I'm actually very impressed with the reaction online. Besides that first day bitterness, FC Cincinnati fans just want this done. We're all soccer fans. We didn't join up with this team, fall in love with this team for the politics. We didn't expect to be watching city council meetings and school board meetings like we've gotten drug into. We want to play soccer in a stadium. And I think, I speak for the majority of FC Cincinnati fans when I say we don't care where you put it. We will go to the games. If you put it in Kentucky, we'll go to the games. If you put it in Ohio, I'll go to the games. If you put it next to the Indiana casinos, I don't care. Just let's get it done.
I had to drag you to that one.
Yeah. I'm kind of in those shoes as well. This offseason's just been I'm tired. In a sense, I'm tired of talking about it, but it has been exhausting. I'm surprised. And look, you've got two really good sites in Newport and Oakley that somebody's going to make out on this. Whether it's tax dollars going to Kentucky or tax dollars going to Cincinnati and Ohio. I don't know. Joseph, you got any thoughts you want to chime in on this?
I just think we lose, not we, the greater we, not we on this show. We kind of lose sight of the fact that, hey, we're in a position that we're choosing between sites or attempting to, where we have options, even if it's just Oakley and Newport trying to get worked on with the West End out. So I agree with Boston. I was very scared to see the reaction because from what most people, the consensus among fans was this was a great deal. for all parties involved. Maybe our opinions are a bit skewed as soccer fans, but there are a lot of cities, a lot of teams, a lot of sites that they're fighting to find a spot they would be fighting to find a spot to make this work for their club. And we're blessed to have a couple of choices to look into, but I think the overwhelming sentiment is, as you guys said, let's just get it done, man.
Wherever it's going to go, it's going to be successful. I mean, this team from the very start has been about the city. It's been about culture. It's about inviting your friends to games, and then they're inviting their friends to games, and making this, just like I said, it's something we can carry on. So we just need to remember that, not just now, but 10, 20 years from now. And if we continue to do that, we don't make this a cliquey thing. We make this Cincinnati's franchise. It's going to work.
I think what you said is a big part of it. A lot of people think FC Cincinnati is successful because there was great marketing or there was billboards and advertising around town and free tickets or whatever. That's just not the case. In fact, many will say that the year one advertising was awful, especially the way they started out. This club was built by supporters, and it was built by me bringing a friend, and you as a fan bringing your mom or your dad or your grandma. The families that sit at Nipper Stadium, blows my mind how many families there are. People think, oh, you're at a college campus, you've got college kids. Yeah, maybe some, but our primary customer is families, kids who play soccer, their mom and dads. We have the millennials in the Bailey, but even still, there's a lot of older people coming to these games, even sitting in the Bailey. And as long as we continue to show up and bring people, it doesn't matter where that stadium's at. The location is only a small piece of this.
Well said, guys. I I couldn't have said it any better myself. We're going to go wherever you take us, FC Cincinnati. So I think the only thing that we ask is, can we get this over with? Let's go. Just get it over with. We're tired of it. We want to know where to go. We want to
build it now.
Build it now. Yeah, not build it here. Build it now. So we don't have any other further news about an MLS announcement. We are still on pins and needles waiting for the soccer Don Garber to do something, the expansion committee to do something for Major League Soccer. So stay tuned. We'll have all the updates as we get them right here on CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Speaking of families, we have a family fun event that we do. Well, I shouldn't say each and every year. For the 2 summers that we've been doing this, we've had the foot golf outing. And Brad, you have an update on what the 2018 version is going to look like.
Yeah, I'm really excited to announce that we have set the third annual CST Foot Golf Classic for August 25th. It's going to be at Woodland Golf Course again over on the west side of town. And again, we're going to be raising a lot of money for sports games for kids. I know a lot of people are familiar with it. It's just such a great group to be a part of. Tom Grabo, Cincy Superfan, and Miss Superfan, they do a ton of great work in bringing kids to these special events. So we couldn't be more excited to set the date August 25th and pay attention to CST. We'll get more information out there how you can sign up, and make sure you put the date on your calendar.
Mark your calendars. What's that date again, Brad? Remind everybody.
August 25th. So what we're going to do is this year, the last 2 years, we've done it on a bye week for FC Cincinnati, and it's been a little tough. A lot of people want to rest a little bit. So August 25th is going to be when FCC, I believe, is away to Tampa Bay. So we're going to start the foot golf outing a little bit later, finish up, and then hopefully go watch the Orange and Blue beat Tampa and drink a couple cold ones.
So August 25th, put it on your calendars now so you don't miss it, folks. It's a great event, raising funds for a great cause and sports games for kids, and we're super proud to be affiliated with Tom Grabo and the fine work that he does with that organization. We have to wish a happy birthday to Yohan Damit, and I'm sure I butchered your name, Yo. I apologized, but he is the assistant coach. If you've been following and watching all of our YouTube videos and Facebook videos, welcoming everybody to Cincinnati here this offseason, Yo sat down with us down in Florida for a few minutes. So happy birthday, Yo. We know you're listening, but hope you're enjoying your birthday. We won't have a Marston match day this week because, well, FC Cincinnati's got an off day or an off week, at least from an official USL match standpoint. They are going to be playing some friendlies over the next few weeks to keep the guys fresh. Probably a good idea. I'm not sure why USL schedules a week off after the opener, but neither here nor there. But they will be off. Club scrimmage is Dayton on Saturday at 2 p.m. March 24th. That is at Dayton's, and I don't know how to say this name, Brad. Do you know how to say it? Is it Bajan Field? Bawan Field?
It's probably Bajan, but it's as good a guess as I can do.
It's at UD. That's all you need to know.
That's it. Travel north for about 45 minutes, you'll run into it. It's just off the highway. It's just on the right.
Can't miss it.
Yeah.
So check it out. Go if you want to go support the club, you can. The game is open to the public. Coming up next Tuesday night, there's also 3C DC FC Cincinnati Rally on Fountain Square from 5 to 8. Some players will be on hand for pictures and autographs from 5 to 5:30. So get down to Fountain Square for that event as well.
I think that's tomorrow.
Yeah, I think
It's
you're right.
tomorrow.
Yep. Coming up Tuesday night. That would be March 20th. Tuesday night, if you're listening to this after the fact, well, sorry. It's Tuesday night. So head on to Fountain Square again. Autographs from 5 to 5:30. And, of course, we've got the Supporters Group Charity Battle. Joseph, can you fill FC Cincinnati fans on what exactly this charity battle is going to be this year?
Ooh, well, it's surprising you bring it to me, but
Just trying to keep you involved, buddy. You look like you're tired over there just catching some Z's.
no, I'm all right. The
Checking up on the
charity
Growlers Cup scores. Is that what you were doing? I knew it.
Yeah, and that'll be part of my final thought here. But essentially, I guess it comes back to the family thing that Boston was speaking of. So at the Taste of Belgium on the Banks, it's hosted by several of the groups. The Legion, who I don't know how they're participating because most of them are probably not of legal drinking age, but the Pride, Dienenstad, the Bastards, Queen City Mafia, and Firm. All those amongst, they're partnering with Taste of Belgium to celebrate with some great beers. Essentially, each supporter group represents a charity, and it's winner take all. And the winning supporter group will receive 20% of their 20% of the bar revenues and $2 for every beer drank at Mad Tree to their charity, the charity of their choice. So there's going to be all sorts of awesome stuff as far as raffles and merchandise from FCC. But the main thing is to get out, get acclimated with one another. The season's about to start. It's coming up here this Saturday, March 24th. And feel free. There's a Facebook event out there. But if you go out and support, it's a great way to catch up with your friends and as well do some good for the community, doing what we do most often. So,
and Bill and I will also be down there. It's from 7 to 9, but I believe at 8 o'clock is when we're going to start the supporter group roundtable and get all these guys on the pod. So you can look out maybe late this weekend for a pod special.
Ooh.
So that's coming up this Saturday night from 7 to 9 p.m. down at Taste of Belgium on the Banks. It's going to be a good time. Make sure you say hi to Brad and Bill and let them know how much you like CST. All right. That hour flew, guys. That was a fast hour. And it was really great to actually be talking about soccer again that actually counted for something. FC Cincinnati, hey, 3 points. That's all you can ask for. Final thoughts as we wrap things up. Was that your final thought, Joseph? Or do you have something else you want to chime in on?
No, I'll go with that as my final thought, and I'm excited for it. Just keep an eye out. Like I said, there's a Facebook event, and there's a lot to be said for us as soccer fans doing good for the city, good for charity, like we do with foot golf, do with other things. So it's just another way to show that, hey, I know we all get together and the point of contact is to watch 90 minutes of soccer together, but we do a lot of good for Cincinnati. So I'm excited.
Speaking of good, buddy, you're a good man. We appreciate you being with us this week here on the show, bud.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, bud.
Let's head over to Boston, Brazil. Boston, your final thoughts as we wrap up episode 108?
I officially think I am the 2018 good luck charm, and because I am self-appointed a lucky charm on St. Patrick's Day in Charleston, I'm headed to Indy Not this weekend, of course, but next weekend with a lot of FC Cincinnati fans. I just checked the page. Over 1,000 tickets were put up for sale. We're down in the 400s now. Available. So I want to encourage anyone who's thinking about it on the border. Let's pack our end zone at Lucas Oil Stadium. Boys, they appreciated us down in Charleston. I mean, they came up to us after the game, gave all the traveling fans high fives, stayed and talked with us for a little bit, support them. They loved us being in Charleston. I think they will appreciate all the fans we're bringing to Indy, and it helps. It really helps them, when they're on the road and they can hear those chants, hear that support.
Good stuff, Boston. As always, appreciate you being with us. We got to do something about that earbud that wants to jump out of your ear tonight, as it did it again.
Yeah, it's tricky. But I ran in the house. I literally got back from traveling 45 minutes before we got on this podcast. So I will admit my setup is not perfect.
Oh, you are perfect, Boston. I appreciate you being with us, buddy.
I'm just glad to make it here in time.
And last but not least, the happy twin, Brad Weigel. Your final thoughts as we get out of here?
Hold on, man. I'm just finishing up sending a couple Outlook invites to Luke Sassano for lunch for the rest of the week. So sent. Final thought, it is about Luke, and it's about FC Cincinnati, and I think they hit a home run here, and not just because of skill. I mean, the guy's done awesome at the Cosmos. He won 3 Super Bowl, NSL Super Bowl Cups, whatever they call it over there. But I think it's another guy that gets it. From day one, this team has been open. You've seen Jeff Burton come on this program a lot. You've seen Alan. He's come on, like I said, he's made multiple appearances. He's let us come down and interview the team in Florida. Keeps all the practices open. And, now you got Luke who's saying, reach out to me if you have questions. You guys want to get lunch, want to go to Skyline? Let's make this a Cincinnati thing. So I think my first impression is this guy gets it. And I couldn't be more excited for him. He's young. He's 32 years old. He's bringing his family here. And I think the sky's the limit for him, especially when we get this call in the next week to MLS. I think he's got the great groundwork laid ahead of him. And I think, people talk about the Red Bulls organization and developing talent, and you got Bethlehem that's coming now. I think Luke Sassano is the right guy to make everybody start talking about how Cincinnati's the place to go for talent.
Well said, Brad. Yeah, I thought I was really impressed with his answers tonight during our interview, and I'm looking forward to everything he brings to the table. Glad you're feeling better. We've missed you here on the show, and we hope we get to do it more often.
Hey, man, Brian's on a yellow card suspension, so whenever you want me.
Oh, I think that's been appealed and overturned. All right. My final thoughts as we get out of here. I got to give a big shout-out to Tom Glerter, the voice of FC Cincinnati. There was a big announcement last week that I'm extremely, extremely jealous of all of you for. I've said it ad nauseum here on this show that I live in Toledo, Ohio. So I'm not exactly close to Cincinnati. So I'm forced to watch the YouTube feed each and every week. Now, for those of you living in the tri-state area, you get to watch FC Cincinnati games on TV. This year, home and away matches are going to be broadcasted by Tom Glerter and Kevin McCloskey. Every single game. Now, I'm not the best broadcaster in the world. I know it is not easy to broadcast in the world, but let's just say these away games that we have to watch on YouTube are rough. They're rough. I'm not perfect. It's not an easy gig, but you guys and girls are spoiled because you get to hear Tommy G for each and every game. I'm so jealous because they do a tremendous job, and I'm really excited that every home and away match is going to be the voice of FC Cincinnati soccer. So kudos to Tommy G and the club for making that happen.
Just mad you're dispossessed to that fine quality coverage, soothing tones of Tommy G.
I think that should be a drinking game. Watch a Charleston Battery game, and every time you hear that word, you got to drink. Dispossessed. Yep. No, but the confusing thing, and I'm surprised that the away games are still not going to be broadcast on the radio, even though Tommy G is doing it. So I don't know why they couldn't make that happen for folks who listen to it on iHeart. That's above my pay grade. But the fact that you get Tommy G for every single game this year, you are lucky. I'm jealous. All right. Before we get out of here again, make sure you go and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher. Get subscribed to our podcast so you don't miss a single minute of CST. That includes our March to Match Day podcast that Brian does such a good job of getting prepared for you each and every week. I know there won't be one this week, but I know he's got one in store for Indy 11 coming up here in a few weeks. So get subscribed to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode of CST. Of course, our shout out and thanks to Jesse King for being the episode captain for this week. He wore the armband proudly for this episode of CST. This is a listener-supported show, so if you want to help us out and get involved in the Growler Cup, CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. If you want to rate and review the show on iTunes, you can do that at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/iTunes is where you can do that. Our thanks to Luke Sassano, new technical director of FC Cincinnati, joining us this week here on the show. Of course, my thanks to Brad Weigel, Boston Brazil, and Joseph Sagai. I'm Subes, reminding everybody to watch your tackles, and we will see you all next week.